Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we have a pretty fun video that I've been kind of putting off making for a little bit, but as you guys know, I've centered a lot of the content over the last couple of weeks around this collection that I bought, selling it, trying to figure out what to grade, etc., all that stuff, sorting through it, listing it all. But today we're going to start digging into the vintage sets, and today is none other than 1970 Topps. It's a set that has kind of known as a bland set for a lot of vintage collectors, just the basic gray borders on them. But there is a lot of Hall of Famers, some solid rookies, and the set that I have is in pretty decent condition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the camera facing forward. We're going to flip through all of it. We'll look through all the names together, and I'm going to kind of just talk you guys through my process. I'm just going to ramble a little bit, so if you guys want to sit back and listen for a little, sit back and listen. But we're going to pull some cards, figure out what's going to grading, what might go to SGC, what might go to PSA, and vice versa. You guys know how this stuff goes. So we're going to get right into this. We've got a big set to go through. This is an almost complete set. I believe this is missing 7 cards. So we're going to pull some cards out of it and get these cards graded. But let's get into it. Here we go. So let's get into it right away without wasting any time. We will flip it open and we'll start looking through the cards. And on the first page, I believe there's nothing too crazy of a card. Yeah, nothing too crazy there. But as you can see, pretty decent centering on these cards. This one's obviously a little cut to the right here, a little smaller on the left, but pretty decently centered cards. And there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to look through. And our first Hall of Famer is actually going to come on this page right here in Carl Yastrzemski. So we will pop him out and let's take a look at this. As you can see, left to right centering's not the greatest, but just a small whiting right there. Centering on the back is not great either, and I do not want to say this one is going to be a candidate for grading right away, so probably going to let this one sit out for now, but still a really cool card, and the surface on it actually looks very good. I don't see any major creasing, maybe just a little light creasing along one of those corners, but overall, very clean of a card. And the first card that we are going to pull out, we will not be grading. But that's what's going to be fun about this is we're going to look through everything and we will grade a bunch. We will flip a bunch. Here we go. So let's keep looking through. Nobody else on this first page. Hoyt Wilhelm is actually another Hall of Famer, so I guess we'll take a peek at him. I feel like you can't go around grading Hall of Famers. And this one actually is a very, very clean copy. Centering is great. You got a little bit of a dinged corner there, but what you're going to expect with a 70s card. And that one is actually really damn clean. I think we're going to grade this one actually because I don't know the total population on these or what these are going to grade, but I think if there's stuff that looks like it's going to be worth grading, we're going to throw it into a card saver 1 right here. And I'm going to do a little research on the back end and maybe I'll update you guys at the end with what's actually going to go to grading and what's not. But for now, that seems like a very clean copy of the card that should get its fair shot to get graded. We'll try to fly through some of these other ones as we're not trying to spend 100 hours on here. Nobody really notable on the second page other than Cesar Tovar, Minnesota Twins player. And actually what's fun is in my Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame set, he was one of the toughest cards to acquire in that entire set as he died in the early 90s, I want to say. So pretty cool to see that one. But then after that, we go on to page 2. You have Billy Wilson, Sandy Alomar, who is a Hall of Famer, I do believe. Matty Alou, that is the dad of Moises Alou and Felipe Alou. Let's see, anybody else we're looking for. And then a Reds rookie star. So nobody too crazy there. But Sandy is looking pretty cool here. And he actually just passed away a day ago on the day of me recording this one. But here, as you can see, centering's left to right a little bit. Looks like it was miscut. You got a little of the black of the bottom of a card there from the sheet when it was originally cut. And here, nothing too crazy, so this one I'm not going to send out. But we'll just keep flipping through this really quick, and we'll see what else we can find. You have Dick Allen right here, just got into the Hall of Fame this past summer. I'm not going to grade that one, but still a cool card. And as we flip through the rest, let's see what else we have here. It looks like we have 3 cards that feature a trio of Hall of Famers on this one right here. You got Pete Rose. I guess Cleon Jones is not in the Hall of Fame, but of course Roberto Clemente, and then you have Carew, Oliva, both Hall of Famers, and Willie McCovey, and Ron Santo, and Tony Price, who are all Hall of Famers. So these ones, I'm going to have to look those ones over after the fact, but those ones may be graded, and there's a bunch of Hall of Famers on this next page right here. As you can see, all of the league leaders. This was just such a great era of baseball. So many recognizable names, so many legends, so many greats right here. Outside of that, we're going to flip on to the next page, and you have Jim Cott, Hall of Fame inducted into the 2022 class. But that one is not centered great. I do not think that's going to be a grading contender for myself personally. And on to the next page. Anything else crazy we're seeing? Nothing on that one. You do have Tim McCarver. That is just a cool looking card, but not worth grading in my book. And as we keep flipping through here, you have Earl Wilson, Joe Miller, nothing crazy. So we're going to keep going through this stuff. Our next Hall of Famer we come up on is the Harmon Killebrew 1970 Topps. And I actually just picked up a copy of this card signed in person from Killebrew. Got it for $40 at a local card show, which I thought was a great deal considering he's a Hall of Fame member with one of the best autographs of all time. But in this case, this is not going to be a gradable card for me. It just does not, unless you're getting this in like a 7 or higher, it just doesn't really warrant grading, and that is not going to be a copy that will do that. But I'm sure that we will see some other cards in this set of Hall of Famers that are worth grading. And even if we see a card that looks really clean, that would be worth grading on the back end. Billy Williams right here, another Hall of Famer. That one I'm actually going to pop out because I think this one might be a grade possibility right here. There may be potential to grade this one. Let's see. Let's get this thing in view right here. Obviously, again, centering is a little tough. You got a dinged corner. But overall, nothing terrible. I guess you do have the little fisheye right there. Probably would grade about a 3 to a 4. There is no creasing though, so you might get lucky. That might be a 4 to a 4.5. But for me personally, I'm only looking to grade the best of the best from this 1970 set, and that is not it. So we're going to keep looking around in this one. Get a Ted Sizemore on his rookie cup. But overall with that, nothing too crazy. A Tommy John right here is always cool. I think that's pretty cool. Sparky Anderson, another Hall of Fame manager right there. And after that, we will come up on our first real big card in the set in the Thurman Munson rookie. Obviously, he is not a Hall of Famer, but passed away in a plane accident early. And honestly, I think there will be a day and time where he gets into the Hall of Fame. This copy right here, I'm looking this for creasing because that's one of the more important things to me is if you have a copy that doesn't have creasing, it's probably worth sending. And this one looks very nice. You do just have a little bit of that kind of fish eye under the star from the printing. But overall, after that, centering on the back is not always as important with PSA. We have some softer corners, nothing too crazy. But that one, you know what? That is a decently centered copy, not a ton of damage. And this one is going to be graded by PSA. And a trick that I've been doing, you guys, is with these sleeves so you don't ding a corner, if you put your finger in and just pop it out, it will actually rip the corner open. So then you can slide in like that. Slide it in, and then you don't have to even risk dinging a corner. You can just slide straight down, and just like that, that thing is going to be ready to go out to PSA or SGC. Now, I don't really know what direction I want to go with this because PSA takes way too long right now, and I'm just really tempted to get these back quick and just kind of make a quick flip on them. So, gonna have to see how that goes, but we'll just keep playing through this and we'll see what happens. You got Joe Torre right here. That one looks like the bottom is cut a little weird on that bottom left corner. Charlie Manuel, former Phillies manager. I think he was the manager when they won the World Series in 08. So that's kind of cool right there to see that one on a Twins card for me personally. And then now you got some really nice stuff with these Mets cards. If I'm not mistaken, I think this card with Tom Seaver is actually worth a decent amount of money. Same thing with this Nolan Ryan. But for now, I'm not going to pull those ones, but I will probably go back and look at those down the line. And we'll keep flipping through. Clete Boyer right here. Bert Campaneris. And Juan Marichal is the next one we're going to see, followed by Ted Williams on this page. So those are two very nice cards of some very big MLB legends right here. Obviously, this is a managerial card for Ted Williams. We'll pop that one out slowly. And this one looks fairly nice. Let me just get this in the light. That's actually a really, really good copy. This might actually be a 6 to 7 if I had to take a guess at it. And again, I'm not the best vintage grader. I don't have the best eye for vintage, but I can tell when something is decent. So this one for sure is going to get sleeved. We'll kind of put stuff into sleeves. I don't know if I'm going to put the card saver ones on everything right now, but that one is definitely clean enough to get the sleeve treatment. Let's slide this one back in here, and let's pop out this Juan Marichal and see what we are working with here. Looks top to bottom and left to right, both just a tick off in each direction, but outside of that, that card honestly looks like it's pack pulled. So freaking clean right here. And you guys are going to hear me say that a lot. I feel like I'm just going to ramble in this video more than anything. But hey, didn't I warn you guys at the beginning? If you guys want to listen to me ramble, this is the video for you. But that one is going to get looked over after this video for grading as well. And on this next page, nothing too crazy. You got Lee May at the bottom and Steve Carlton. I guess that's actually a pretty big card. I think this is going to be a second year for Carlton. So let's pop this one out quick. What year is this? He was a rookie in 66 maybe? So 66. So it's either a third or a fourth year card for him. But do you have a little creasing up at the top? Nothing yeah. All right, so this one, we're going to put it in the sleeve. This is getting the sleeve treatment right here. And we are going to send this one more than likely off to PSA because that's a clean copy. But not worth probably looking any deeper into it than that. And let's flip through. You got Brooks Robinson next. That's a nice card right there of a Hall of Famer. I'm just going to pull that one just to get a closer peek at it. Just because it's, you know, at the same time, it's really fun just to look at these. And I'm having a lot of fun digging through these. So we're going to look through this and let's keep pulling these. Here we go. So that looks pretty clean right there. Nothing too crazy. A little soft corner. Overall, really nice though. And I'm just kind of thinking about this right now. We have been recording for a while, so I think what we're actually going to do is I'm just going to throw a little background music on for you guys to listen to while we look through this. And if there's anything interesting, I will cut the music and show you guys this stuff. But here we go. We're just going to keep flipping through this as we look at Fergie Jenkins on the next one. Fun little note right here that everybody may not know. Tommy Aaron is actually Hank Aaron's brother, and they were able to play together on the Braves throughout the late 60s and into the 70s. And this one right here is a pretty cool card. Not one that is worth grading, in my opinion, but still just a really fun card and a little fun fact that everybody may not know. Rod Carew is going to be our next Hall of Famer, and followed right next to him is another Hall of Famer and Leo DeRocher. The Carew is not greatly cut. That would probably get a miscut qualifier. And DeRocher I don't think is worth grading, but still two cool cards to look at there. And we'll flip through. Tom Seaver is going to be our next big one on this back page right here. And that is actually a pretty solid looking card. Just off the eyeball test right here, the centering on the up to down looks good, but the left to right is just a little bit off. But this one, I think if there's no creasing on it, and it looks like there's not creasing, this is a really well curated set. I'd say this is probably like a mid to like, just like a slightly above mid, probably like a mid to like, if I had to put numbers in it, this is probably like a 5 to 7 graded set overwhelmingly. So that's a nice one right there to pull Seaver. And on this next page, we have a bunch of the sporting news. So anybody big here, you have Jerry Koosman, not like a super great, but still bigger name from back in the day. And Luis Aparicio right here, another Hall of Famer, but that is miscut. Ooh, and up next after that, we have Lou Brock right here. This is, I believe, towards the end of his career. I think he played till 75, if I want to say so. I may be mistaken on that, but let me know if you know in the comments. And this one right here of Lou Brock is a exemplary copy. I do think that this one will grade very nicely. Probably between a 5 and a 6.5 if I had to take a guess on the SGC scale. So we're going to throw that one out and hope for the best. That one's probably going to get looked at a little bit more. On this next set of pages, we have 2 Hall of Famers featuring Reg Schoendienst and Roberto Clemente. Obviously, Roberto Clemente, one of the best MLB players of all time, one of the most influential and important players in the history of the game for getting the Latin players involved in the game. Obviously, Major League Baseball is a very Latino-heavy sport right now, and you can owe all of that to him as being the first Puerto Rican, I do believe, to be in baseball, and also just all of the work he did on and off the field. Died in a plane accident in 1973 on New Year's Eve, or 1972, I guess, New Year's Eve. But really nice card right here. It's not the greatest centered copy. Looks like it was miscut, like there's the line from the card above it, but this is one of those cards that it's Clemente. We're going to grade this. Got an next Hall of Fame right here in Gil Hodges. Believe he got into the Hall of Fame in 21 or 22 through the Veterans Committee. Actually, I think it was either 21 or 23, and I'm leaning 23. Don't know off the top of my head, but this copy right here, left to right centering is a little bit rough, but still, as I've been saying with everything, very good copy. The color is very nice on it. Honestly, looks like it could have been pulled from a pack yesterday outside of the centering, so slide this one into this penny sleeve and we'll move on. All right, we're going to keep flipping through this stuff here. Nothing else on these next pages. Jim Bunning is a Hall of Famer, but one of the lower tier Hall of Famers, so I don't think we're going to take a look at that one today. You have Boog Powell, another great player. Not a Hall of Famer, though. And we'll keep flipping through. Let's see what else we find. Jerry May, Pat Dobson, Bobby Bonds. That is the dad of Barry Bonds right there, so that's a fun one to see. And as we'll flip through this next page, we have Lee May, Bill Mazeroski right here. That is another Hall of Famer. Another lower-end Hall of Famer, so not one that's worth pulling from this set, but still a cool card to look at. And then now this is where we're going to hit the jackpot. You have Palmer, and after Palmer, you have so many of these sporting news of Hall of Famers. So let's dig into this. I'm going to look at these over, and let's see if we can get anything crazy here. So here we go. I'm going to start digging, and we will look at all of these. All right. Well, from the sporting news section, I picked the 4 biggest names, and I think outside of the Pete Rose, they're all decently centered. Hank Aaron's a little left-right heavy. Same thing with Reggie, but overall, really clean-looking cards, and these are 4 that will more than likely go to SGC just for that quick turnaround time, get them slabbed, and even if I put this set back together, it'll be nice to get those ones slabbed, so it's very fun to get those ones back. And we're making a nice little stack here. Willie Stargell is another Hall of Famer, but again, not centered as well. And now we're going to go back to some flipping and enjoy this nice music. This next set of 18 brings upon 3 Hall of Famers in Hank Aaron, Raleigh Fingers, and Tony Oliva. And I do think the only one worth grading out of this batch is probably the Henry right here. Let's pull Mr. Hank. This is a copy of his card. I believe he played till 74, so this is like towards the end of his career. Colors on this one look pretty strong, pretty vibrant. And that copy actually looks very nice. So we're going to get this one sleeved up. And again, this is going off to SGC more than likely. I feel like throughout the course of this video, I've kind of made the decision that SGC is going to be the route to go, to not have to wait like 5-6 months to get our cards back and stuck there. But it's going to be nice to get that one back. And hopefully that comes back in like a mid to high grade. I would love anything above a 5 in that. Would probably make it worth sending it off. Next up, you have Joe Morgan. That is a pretty early card for him. I believe that is 3rd year, I want to say, but... This next set of 18 brings up one of the bigger cards in the entire set in the Willie Mays. And I've actually talked about this in a couple other of my short form videos I've released talking about this collection, but this copy is very, very nice. One of the nicer ones I've seen. You can see no creasing in it. The centering is actually very, very close to 60-40, if I had to say. And honestly, the corners are amazing. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but there's a chance that this one gets a 7 or above, which would be a very, very good surprise, getting that back in the grading pile. So that one's sleeved up and ready to go to grading. And now we're on to the last couple pages here, and I believe now everything here on is going to be high numbers, and the biggest high number is none other than Nolan Ryan, which we will see in just a second. But we're just going to make sure there's no Hall of Famers on these pages, and we will swing through a couple of these final ones. You have Don Sutton, who is a Hall of Famer, but don't think that one is probably worth grading in this round at least. And then Ernie Banks. This is a end of the career Ernie Banks right here, right towards the end of his career. I believe 71 or 72 was his last year, so nice to get that one. Not greatly centered, just a little miscut, but that one we're just going to throw to the side and we will look at on the back end. And we're going to keep going through. You have Bud Harrelson, Bob Allison, one of my favorite all-time Twins. Do have a signed rookie of him, so that's kind of fun. And then right here is where this set starts getting incomplete. You can see it's missing a bunch of the higher number cards, but luckily it's none of the major names. This set had all the major names that we were looking for, so we got lucky with that as we keep flipping through. Johnny Bench right here, that is a really nice one, and that is a 3rd year for Mr. Bench, so we're going to pop that one out. Definitely worth grading regardless of the condition, but this one is actually a very nice copy. It does have a little bit of a folded corner there, but really cleanly centered, great images, really clean copy, no staining or anything. That one's going to head over to the grading pile. And then as we finished up, you have not Mr. Cub, but you have a Cubs legend right there in Ron Santo, Jose Cardinal, and let's see, anybody else in this back little chunk that we are going to want to pull in the Reds rookies? Nope. And after that, we're into our last couple pages. You have nobody on that page that you'd really want to grade. You have Frank Robinson right here, one of the better Hall of Famers, but that one is miscut pretty badly, so I'm probably not going to grade that one. On this last page, nothing too crazy, and we're going to flip and find the most valuable card in the entire set in the Nolan Ryan short print. This would be a 3rd year for Nolan Ryan, as he was a rookie in 68 tops. But this one, I've kind of chronicled this a little bit in the past on a couple of my other pages, and this one just has like a little indent on the top of his hat. But outside of that, it's just a centering issue and a little bit of rough corners. But still, with this one, it's a big enough card where if you're even to get a 4 or 5 on it, it's like a $300 to $500 card in those different grades. So we're going to slide that one out. And with that, that brings us to the end of this set overview. Let me get these cards all organized and we'll check back in to conclude the video. All right, guys, so that was fun to go through that. I feel like that was not my best voiceover that I've ever done. Kind of was a little bit of not the most interesting commentary, I guess I'd say. I feel like I didn't have a lot to say there, but still, we got a nice little chunk of stuff that I'm going to kind of look over for grading just a little more, but I'll give you guys the quick rundown of everything we pulled right here, so let's get into it. Starting off, you've got Lou Brock, and again, all these are 1970 tops. Roberto Clemente, which is honestly probably the worst condition of everything in this lot, but I feel like it's Clemente, so you just have to grade it. A very, very nice Gil Hodges right here, which I'm very excited about. Love the colors on that. Sporting News, Johnny Bench, Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson's 2nd year Sporting News, a Pete Rose Sporting News, and then we are going to go to Hank Aaron right here. That's a very good looking card. And probably the one that I'm most optimistic about is this Willie Mays right here. I think this one has a chance at a 7. It looks so clean. Ernie Banks, Johnny Bench. The biggest card here is the Nolan Ryan high number card right here. 3rd year for him. Just can't get some focus. There we go. But 3rd year for Nolan Ryan. That's a big card. That does like $400 to $500. Right here, you got Tom Seaver on the 3rd year, 2nd. I think he's 60. It's the 2nd year. Willie McCovey. That one I might not send. Fergie Jenkins. That one may not get sent either. Gonna have to look that over. Right here, that is going. Who is that? Is that Brooks Robinson right here? So that's a nice one. Some good centering on that. Up next, we have Steve Carlton. And then to finish it off, a couple handful of pitchers right here. You got Juan Marichal, a Ted Williams manager card, and the only 2 that I put in sleeves and cases right away, but Thurman Munson on his rookie, and a Hoyt Wilhelm that I will probably pull because I don't think this one's going to be worth sending. I don't think it's going to make enough since it's on that one, and even if it gets a high grade. But overall, that was pretty fun to look through that stuff, and I've still got every set from 70 to 80 minus 1971, which I sold earlier this week. So it's going to be fun to look through all these. I'm going to pull a bunch of the rookies. Still undecided on 72 and 73 if I'm going to sell those as complete sets or pull the rookies. But I also have the 75 set, one of my favorite sets ever. I love the colors in that one, and that has the George Brett and Robin Yount rookies, and those are really clean. I've looked those over, so gonna have to look through those, figure out what I want to do from there. But there's a lot of great stuff in these sets to go through still, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this content. I'm having a lot of fun making it, and we're just we're gonna learn as we go. We're gonna make some better voiceovers, better commentaries, flipping through these sets. But that was fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.